let them catch up. So, so again, welcome to our April CoC meeting, and happy to have each of you here with us today. We'll go over a few things, and then at the end, we're going to have just a time for open discussion. So if you've got something, a question that you need to throw out to us to see who may have an answer, be thinking about that, and then we'll have a chance, like I said, at the end, just to kind of just have an open discussion about topics or things that you may want to discuss as a CoC. So here's our agenda. We're just going to give a little COVID update, 2023 presidential budget and how that affects the areas in which we serve in homelessness, the YHDP grant, Point Source Youth Conference, and the fiscal year 2022 CoC application. So we'll move on there, and that's kind of where we're going to be looking at today. So just for information purposes, COVID update. This is as of February 19th. You see the numbers of hospitalizations thankfully have gone down. Test numbers have gone up. Cases have gone up, unfortunately, and deaths have gone up. But I believe we're hopefully in most of our areas seeing at least a stabilization, if not a downturn, in COVID cases. Is everyone finding that true in their areas?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems so.
Okay. Well, and that leads us to where the again, for lack of a better term, the COVID czar thing we talked about a month or 2 months ago. They finally released that application to be filled out, and so Emily is working on that for us. Oh, that's good, Nora. And so Emily's working on that for us, and we'll be submitting that. Emily, when is that due again?
That's due April 11th, which I think is next Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, they released it last Friday, I believe it was. We had a webinar on it Monday, which was yesterday, and it's due the 11th. So, yay, government. So we're working on that, and we'll have that turned in, and hopefully have an answer, because they said, I think in a webinar yesterday, they wanted to try to get the funds for that released. I believe it was May, right, Emily?
Yep, they're hoping for May 1st.
Yeah, they're hoping to have that turned around and applications done and out by May 1st. So we're asking for, I think, the $500,000 that is what they recommended for us way back when that lady, I think, talked to us in the CoC. And that position, again, if funded, will be for the whole CoC, for COVID mitigation and testing and street outreach, encampments and things like that, and our shelters and so forth, that we can use that to help test there as well. So we'll have hopefully more information on that in the May meeting. We'll see. So the National Alliance to End Homelessness Fiscal Year 2023 Presidential Budget. This was an article some of you may have seen. I think it came through Homelessness Alliance. I can't remember, but I saw it and read it and thought it was something interesting just to have the information to kind of see where things might be headed in the next year or so with the budget, and obviously $3.576 billion for homeless assistance. That's an increase of $363 million. Of course, we have no idea how that's going to be specifically doled out or what areas it's going to be targeted towards. But of course, once we get more information, but it's just something when you get the slide deck in your email, obviously the URL down there is down there at the bottom, the link, so you can click on it, read more about it if you want to. But I just want to kind of put that out in our minds and put a bug in our ear that there's going to be even more money out there for homelessness issues apparently in the coming months or year in fiscal year 2023. And here's kind of how it could impact housing. So increasing existing programs, the budget also proposes a $35 billion new program to develop additional affordable housing. Andy, I thought of you when I heard that, because y'all are building your stuff down there and aren't you building the transitional rapid rehousing
Well, it's actually, we're not using the word shelter, but it's actually a shelter. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm definitely into anything like this that I can.
Yeah. So it looks like there's going to be more for that type of like a transitional type housing thing. It looks like increase in low income housing tax credits. Like I said, the details, there's not a lot of details yet. Proposals related to healthcare, employment, so we can tie some of that together. Obviously with the representations that we have here and the group. So just be on the lookout for that, and I'm sure there'll be more information coming out soon. So, all right. I would ask for questions on that, but I don't know any more than you do. I just read it, so that's what I know. Okay. The new round of YHDP, which is the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program, NOFA has come out. And when I say we want to go for this, I mean, I think we as a CoC need to go for this. I've been here just over a year. March 15th of 21 was my start date. Hopefully I sound a little bit more intelligent than I did on that very first CoC meeting that we had. But over this year, I know that we have dealt with 5, maybe 6 or more unsheltered youth type situations. And I'm sure you all have had some run-ins and encounters with that as well. Youth homelessness is becoming more of an issue. And so again, when I say we want to go for this, I don't mean we as Tennessee Valley, I mean we as a CoC, because this grant, the floor of this grant is $1 million, the ceiling's $15 million. And so it would be something that would benefit all of us. So my vision would be that as a CoC that we could have 1, 2, 3, 4 transitional type housing places around, to where we find a kid on the street, we can, somebody in Loudon finds a kid on the street, we can bring him into the center that we may have in Blount County, or somebody in Oak Ridge and Andy's, we've got something going in Anderson County somewhere we can put them, So we have around our map coverage. But the thing is this is a pretty intense, I don't know if anybody's ever looked at this or tried to go for it, but it's a pretty intense process. Knox County's tried for it 3 times and not gotten it. So although if we don't try for it, we'll never get it. So Emily is hard at work on this now as well for us. But the thing is there's a lot of stuff that we have to have in place before we can even be considered as a CoC for this. We need to have strong committees within our CoC. So we have to have, as you see, the collaboration will include a recruiting of a youth action board. We've got to have teenagers, young people involved in the process, be on a board or like a committee type thing. We have to, like I said, our infrastructure within the CoC needs to be strong and be established. We need to be engaging schools and public child welfare agencies. So one of the things I've thought, and again, this is probably a general council meeting issue to talk about, but I think we need to come up with some sort of a community/school liaison board or committee to where, again, around our CoC, so that we have a connection, or if we already have those connections, then we make that board or that committee so that we have those connections, because that's where we get most of the ones we find or get in touch with us are either from a school counselor or DCS, DHS. Somebody calls us and says, "Hey, here's what we got going on." So we need to have some kind of connection with that. But I think I know there's a lot of tentacles in the homelessness issues. There's so many things that we could look at and address, but this is one that I think is going to continue to grow. And so, like I said, I think it's something that will be good for us as a CoC to make sure that we're working hard to get this. So we may not get it this year. We may not get it next year, because it's going to take us a little bit of time as a CoC to get all of our stuff together that we need for this. But I think it's something worth us coming together and working towards. I just want to throw that out there. The application due date is June 28th. Like I said, we're working on it. But I'm not going to say we're not going to get it, but I wouldn't give it a big snowball chance, if you know what I'm saying, for us to get that this year. But we need to get the process started. So hopefully next year or even the next, we're ready to go and hopefully get this. Because there is also an extra bonus in there for rural agencies that are CoCs that deal with rural homelessness, youth homelessness. And that's what we do. That's what all of us do. So it's something that we really, I think, will be good for us. And so the purpose of this collaborative there, the last paragraph, would be to create a shared strategy. So again, I want to emphasize is this is not the Tennessee Valley Coalition for the Homeless. It's the Tennessee Valley Continuum. And we all work together on this. So we work together as a CoC to address youth homelessness, highlight the importance of youth leadership, and expand community capacity and serve youth experiencing homelessness. So that's not to put aside anything we do with our veterans, our senior adults, or those with special needs, or anything else that experience homelessness. But this is just one that I think is good for us as well, because if we can stop that cycle of homelessness early, then we, hopefully we're not dealing with it later on when they in life. It doesn't become a habitual. They don't become chronically homeless. So, all right. Any questions on that? What we're doing with that, or where we think we need to go? Allie, did I miss anything? Yeah, I'm sorry.
What is it? I'm just reading over the grant preparation, but what is, other than youth outreach, what would you use the money for?
Well, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong. So there's basically 3 stages. So we would establish the infrastructure first with the youth outreach collaboration. We would bring in like case managers that would be basically the CoC liaisons then for the school systems, either 1 or 2, maybe even 3, depending on how we would break down our region. If we had a north, east, and west, or region 1, 2, and 3, however we want to do that around the area. And they would be the ones that would be the point of contact for the schools and the DCS and all that. That would be the ones that would be gathering the initial information, and so then they could start working with the young people then. And then we would look at working towards in that stage 2 and 3, more of like the transitional housing scenario or group home type thing where we purchase. That's where like maybe Sabrina and them could come in and say, okay, we've got, we can help you find houses that we could do like group homes and staff those and have that transitional housing type model. Because we had a guy called the other day, a kid in North City that was 18, aged out of foster care, went to live with his dad in Atlanta in a bad part of town, came back to Knoxville or back to the area, but he can't live with his mom over in East Knoxville because there's gang activity and there's people that live in the house that he can't be around, which I'm going to kind of think maybe why he was in foster care. But his foster family is in Lenore City and he wants to graduate from there, but he's a junior. And so we were trying to come up with, well, what can we do? We can't put him in a hotel for a year and a half. There's no grant or program that we have that we can justify a year and a half hotel voucher. Landlords are usually 20, you have to be 21 and over. So we were struggling with what to do. And finally we came up with, well, if there's a church that might take him in, or not take him in, but somebody from the church, and so I called the contact and said, what do you think about this hypothetically? And so they presented that, and the family from a church took the kid in, and he's going to graduate. He's probably going to be the valedictorian, got tons of scholarship money waiting on him. And so he didn't want to leave Lenore City, which I get. So to be able to have fixes like that where we can have them, we don't want to pull a kid from Loudoun County and have to transport them to CoC County. So if we could have at least within driving distance or areas. And so that's kind of the broad thought is to have, again, like I said, if we had a place in Anderson County where kids from Campbell County and or at least they're within close proximity to where, where they need to be to get to school or whatever like that. So that's kind of the big picture. I'm a big picture guy, and then I need help fill in those little details. That's where all our committees and you guys would help fill in that too, to help get us where we need to go. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's what I was wondering. I'm kind of hoping to. We have the same issue come up probably, in between 5 and 10 times a year with kids that are in between that 18 and 21, and it's always a struggle to figure out what to do with them. So yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like a black hole. They got services for them up to 18, and then there's nothing for them between 18 and 21, sometimes 25, and they just flounder. And then that starts that cycle of chronic homelessness. So that's where I think we can hopefully help break that cycle if we can get in on this at some point. Like I said, I'm not betting my house that we get it this year, but we need to get to the position where we can, hopefully apply for it with good confidence. Allie, am I missing anything on this?
Nope, I think you covered it fairly well.
Well, thank you. All right. Any other questions or thoughts on this? Savannah, is that your mouse running around the screen, or is that mine?
Hey, this is Melina with Haven House.
Hey.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just wondering, so the target population we would be looking at is that 18 to 25? Or would
Well,
it be?
I guess primarily, but it's youth. So that's Emily. Does that specify within or Allie, either one? Does that specify within the NOFO?
Yes, so it's age 24 and under. So we would be able to assist anyone in that age range.
Okay, so say if we had, and I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. Thanks, but so if we had like a 14-year-old, we obviously can't get a hotel, wouldn't be able to, house them that way. But would that mean like, hey, we have funds that we could house your healthy living situation with, a family member, or like, how would that, I guess I'm trying to wrap my mind around how that would work.
You have an answer on more of those specifics type thing?
I do, yeah.
As far
So
as what's funded and what's not?
there's options within the funding to do group homes. So we could look at doing something like that. And this is going to be part of the conversation, is figuring out which programs we want to move forward with as a CoC. But another option that they've put in there is having families that take in individuals and host them. And we would be able to cover any added costs to them for utilities and rent and things like that. So there's several options. And then of course, just rapid rehousing, regular transitional housing that we could provide before placement as well. So
That's awesome. Okay. And it seems like maybe a good start is like all of us that might run into the situation, how we do the point in time count, maybe just have some rough numbers for you all as you move forward. I think somebody had this happen like 5 times a year. In my experience, it's like those are the statements in grants that's like, oh, this is truly an existing problem. They have proof.
mm-hmm. The cool thing too with this funding, part of it is building the infrastructure. So having our youth action board do a point in time count specifically for youth would be a potential activity that we could put them on, so that we could get more information also in that area. So yeah, there's a lot of options for what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. If Andy says he's experiencing 10 to 15, and we've had at least 5, like I said, we may have had a few more. I mean, in the areas that we serve, 15 to 20 unsheltered youth that's not a good number. So we need to address that. So did that answer your question, Melina?
Yes, it did. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
all. It's awesome.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
one thing I would add to this, and Chris, you touched on it, is the intention of this funding is that it's really driven by the youth and the needs assessment showing the need. So that youth advisory board is super important because like Chattanooga just got this on the last round. Nashville got it on the round before that. And I've sat in on a couple of calls where they're talking about it. And what the youth put forward isn't always what we think they need or what we think they want. One of the big things that's come out of YHDP proposals across the country is this direct cash payout. Definitely the permanent housing, affordable housing option is another one. So just keeping that in mind, like I think having all these connections to the youth is great because we want to make sure that they're being brought into the conversation and comprising that board so that we can really determine the need and also find out what it is exactly what they want, because that is what HUD is really looking for, is that youth input.
And going off of that, the Youth Action Board has to be a formal committee in our CoC. So they will be participating in the meetings. They are supposed to be compensated as well. So we would be paying them for their time. So yeah, it's a great way to bring them into the conversation as well.
Good points. Thanks. Good input. Anybody else thoughts or questions? Okay, as we get deeper into this, we'll do more. Like I said, we need to get a governing council meeting and talk about some of this too, and how to approach some of this, and then obviously bring things back to all of us to vote on as a CoC. But again, I really want us this year to focus on the teamwork aspect of CoC, of us becoming more. I mean, I understand we've all got our own things that our organizations are doing, but also as a CoC, we need to be doing things together, so to speak, as much as we can in some areas. So partnering in different areas and doing different things together. So at least that's my picture of what a CoC should be. It's just a big team with everybody doing their own job, but for the same purpose. So, but anyway, we'll work on that. But that's the YHDP grant. Like I said, we're going to work on it, get as far as we can on it, and see what we can do. And then if not, we're going to lay the groundwork to be ready to hopefully rock and roll with it next year when it comes out. So, okay. And leading right into that, there's a second annual Point Source Youth Rural Conference on youth homelessness. You can register for that event. Again, when you get the slide deck, you'll have that there. It's going to be virtual. Registration fees are set on a sliding scale. And at this event, rural communities nationwide will have the chance to connect with folks who face similar barriers to ending youth homelessness. And so it's just kind of a FYI for any of you that want to be involved in that, to maybe hear what's going on in other areas of rural youth homelessness. It's April 12th and 13th. And so you can, again, go to the link when you get it and see more information about that as it comes, if you want to. So,
Chris, can I add to that? The registration fee is waived for youth who apply, who are in need. So I would encourage y'all who are in contact with some of the youth in the 12 county region to, if you think that they would be interested to attend. It's a very youth-led conference. And I imagine that they would find some camaraderie and relationship by hearing experiences of other people who've been affected in their similar situations. And because it's free, they can access it. One of the things too is if there is an agency who has connection with youth, like if y'all wanted to host it as an agency and show it live and have the youth come in and watch it together, that would also be a suggestion.
that's good. It's good to know. Thank you, Ellie. Okay. We finally got the awards for the CoC application from last fall that we did. And so here's what we've been awarded. We did not get our domestic violence provider database position, and we did not get the housing navigator and benefits counselor positions that we tried for. Don't know why. They just kind of do what they do. So, so we may have to do our own kind of networking if somebody needs. So if anybody has like a list of landlords and people that are willing to work with people with homelessness or helping the homeless, it might be good if we could produce that. I know sometimes we like to keep that close to our vest so that nobody steals our landlords, but again, we're all fighting for the same thing. And if we could somehow produce some sort of a list of in our counties, all of our counties, of people that we know that might be willing to work with us, then that might be helpful, and we wouldn't have to worry about having a housing navigator for right now until next year when we put it out there. So there's what we've been funded for, $533,938. So any questions or thoughts on that? All right, Savannah. Okay, so is there any thoughts, any discussions, any topics that you want to throw out to the group that maybe you need help working through a situation or a issue or something that maybe somebody can give some insight on? It's just open forum, basically, is what this is right now.
The biggest issue that we're hitting in Anderson County, you guys are probably hitting this too, is we're in kind of an interesting position in that there hasn't been another time that I can think of where we've been able to help people get jobs as easily as now, and good paying jobs, but we're having an extremely hard time finding anything below the fair market value. I contacted, especially like a 2-bedroom below $1,000 right now is just, I think the fair market value is, I can't remember, $800 or $900, but finding any 2 bedrooms below $1,000 is incredibly difficult right now. So for what it's worth, I did ask the state, and they said that they were going to submit an application to extend the deadline. So up until March, I actually didn't know this, I was using COVID money. Up until March 31st, the fair market value had been waived on our HUD grant, our regular HUD ESG grant. I actually didn't know that, but I do now. They're asking for an extension to waive the fair market value on the HUD ESG grant again, but they haven't heard back on that yet. As of, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week, they hadn't heard back. So
That'd be helpful.
Just to kind of let you guys know that, and then just to kind of let you guys know that they, one, that they're applying for that, and then two, to kind of listen out for it, because like I said, I've been using COVID money, which doesn't have the fair market value attached to it, so I didn't need it up until I ran out this last month. But I didn't realize that the ESG money didn't have that fair market value attached on it, or that they had a waiver granted up until March 31st. So if they
for regular, you're talking regular ESG, right?
Regular ESG, yeah. Regular ESG, you usually have to follow the fair market value, but I was just told that they actually had a waiver in place up until March 31st, which I didn't know about. I don't know if any of you guys knew about it either, but so anyway, just to kind of listen out, because if they do get that waiver on the ESG, then that'll be helpful.
Right. That's good to know.
Yeah, but for now, the fair market value as of April 1st, we're supposed to be following it. Yeah.
Well, that'd be good news. Oh, so with the recent fires in Sevierville, Wears Valley, Gatlinburg area, I reached out already to East Tennessee Foundation and THDA about, is there any kind of a fund or any kind of like an emergency grant or reward, and they're really kind of waiting to, I guess, finally get the final assessment of how many people have been displaced and so forth. But there may be some options that we come across, and especially any of our CoC partners that are in and around that affected area, you know, that we'll be able to hopefully help with whatever we need to do for those that have been displaced up there. So in this round of fires. So, but we're waiting, like I said, we're waiting to hear on that. Is there anybody, I'm trying to see who's here? Is anybody from up in that area, either lives there or up there, that has any more?
I am with the Salvation Army.
Hey, Blair. Hey, by the way, great job serving all them hot dogs and stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Blair, why don't you give us a little rundown, if you don't care, on what you all were able to do up there and kind of what you know about the efforts and what's needed right now.
So we got up there on Wednesday night. It started Wednesday afternoon, and we got called out there. We got up there about 6 o'clock, and we were serving food to the first responders. And they had us moved a couple times to different locations because the fire got too close. And then the donations from the community really started pouring in at Pigeon Forge High School. And we worked out of there for a few days, and they recently just tore all of that down. And now the efforts are all at the Sevier County Fairgrounds. And we've still been going out with our canteen to serve meals to first responders.
Awesome. Yeah, Cam kept posting those things on Facebook, and I was happy to see y'all were able to step in there and help out. So do they have any kind of an idea on what timeline and what they might be needed in the near future?
The fires are almost dealt with. They're pretty much contained. There's one that last I heard, there was a little bit that wasn't contained, but for the most part, that's all taken care of. Now it's just the families that were displaced. Last I heard, there was 300 homes that were burned. I'm not sure how much of that is rental cabins and how much is actually like residences. But so far, we haven't really had people come ask for assistance.
Okay. I guess once people start being able to get in to look at their places, we'll figure. I just wanted to get ahead of it. And that's why I went ahead that Thursday and started making phone calls. So, but Blair, if you don't mind keeping us, when we have our meetings, keep us kind of up to date. If there's anything you need, feel free to shoot it to me, and I can get it out to the CoC as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for what y'all did and what you're doing.
Chris, this is Shannon. The Mountain Tough recovery team, they have reassembled. They were in place in the 2016 wildfires. And that might be a group to get in contact with in regards to, they have work with, it's the emergency management system. They were also the Mountain Tough team in 2016. Worked with Melanie at that time in TVCH to assist in those efforts to get people placed in housing. So might be worth reaching out to the Mountain Tough team.
Well, I started because I asked Brandon when I came in. I said, Brandon, where did we get that money last time? And he said he thought it was East Tennessee Foundation. So I checked them, and I think Mountain Tough sent it through East Tennessee Foundation.
They did
to manage it. And so so I went to the Mountain Tough website at that time, like I said, Thursday, I guess it was, they just said, check back for more information. So I haven't been back to it yet. But we looked at EMS, not EMS, but FEMA and all, anything we could try to track down and see if there's anything we can get to help.
Yeah, I can get you connected because we're on the McNabb, we're on the Mountain Tough recovery team. So it can definitely get you connected with them if need be.
Okay. But like I said, any of us that can help out would be great, but we just want to, we want to be on I've told my team this year in January, we're going to be proactive this year instead of being more reactive. So I wanted to be on the front end of that, point of the spear if we could be. So, but yeah, if you could give me some information on that, Shannon, I'd appreciate it.
Sure will.
Tiffany said they went with the VA to do some outreach. Oh, Wait, cut off. Temporary shelters. Okay. Yeah, Tiffany, we'll get with you if there's some veteran issues that we need to address as well. So that's a good thought. Any other thoughts or discussions?
Good morning. Can I share just real quick about the upcoming event? It's SOS Day, and that the organization taking the lead on that is A Place to Stay. So we will be there as well, and that's going to be April 23rd. It's a Saturday, and that's from 12 to 3 p.m. And so some of the free services that they're going to provide are showers. They're going to have washer and dryer, hygiene bags, hot meals, food pantry, clothing pantry, case management services, and free haircuts and eyeglasses, as well as COVID vaccines and flu shots. So if you know about anybody in the area that might be able to attend, feel free to send them our way, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Aaron,
Oh yeah, Robin's kind of hit that. Can you put that in the chat, but also send us a flyer?
Yes.
So we can put it out in MailChimp. Is that right? Not MailChimp. MailChimp. Can we email it and then Facebook it?
Yes, will do.
Allie, I cut you off, Allie. What'd you say?
that was my question.
Oh.
And it's going to be at the, and I'll send you that flyer, and also it will be at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center here in Alcoa.
All right, good deal. Good deal. Who else got stuff going on?
Chris.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about Move a Millathon?
We can.
Okay.
Let me tell them about, so May the 2nd, which I think is before our next CoC meeting, we're having an open house at our Focus Center in La Follette. And what Focus stands for is Feed, Outreach, Clothe, Uplift, and Services. And so we're opening basically a resource center in La Follette. It's May 2nd. Open house is going to be from 9 to 2-ish with a lunch and learn from 11 to 2. So anyone of y'all that want to come and be involved in that, but especially if you're in the Campbell County, Anderson County, Claiborne County, because we've taken our 12 counties and broken them down into 4 regions, and that's region 1. We're doing that kind of as a template. And so if you want to come and kind of see what we're doing there and kind of what the plan is and where we're at, and that is a resource center for all 3 counties. So at this point, because we can't afford to put one in every county yet, but that's kind of where we're starting, and then hopefully we can model that into our other 3 regions at some point. But that's May 2nd in La Follette. It's if you want to know where that is, I'm sure we can put some information out as well. But just let me know. But also Robin wants to share about something we're doing for one of our fundraisers as well.
Okay. Hi, I'm Robin Etnier, and I'm with Tennessee Valley Coalition for the Homeless. And you should have all received an email via MailChimp regarding our Move a Millathon event. And that is going to be a virtual event where we're moving to make the invisible population visible. And we're hoping to kind of get the word out about this event. It's kind of like a walkathon, only there's 4 different categories that people can participate, including walk, run, and hike, and then swimming, rock climbing, and cycling. And so they have the entire month of May to complete their exercise activity and raise funds. And how we set it up is each level for each category has a different impact. And so if you don't mind helping us share this event, we would greatly appreciate it. We're gonna start doing a real push on Facebook, so feel free to just continue to share those. And if you have any volunteers, if you don't mind sharing that with them, that would be great as well.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Anybody else have anything? I'm typing information in the chat, so I'm trying. my brain don't work in two different fields. So somebody else, Tiffany, what's going on at the VA lately?
Business as usual, no big changes. We're pushing to do our challenge survey again this year. I know we've talked about that last year, and we're just trying to really increase the number of surveys that we're getting, because that survey is so important for how we decide how our VA's funding is spent on homeless services and other services, really. I just recently found out that the challenge survey in the last couple of years has helped create a new law where they're going to have grants for legal services for veterans. That is still being the policies are still being written for that, and so it's brand new. But anyway, if I could send that to you, Chris, and could it be sent out on the listserv again this year? Some information about that survey?
Absolutely sure it could be.
Okay, thank you. I'll do
Yes, ma'am.
that.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no, nothing. I thought you said something. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I think everything else, just if you have any veterans, just send them to us and we'll try to get them into housing. So thank you.
All right. Good deal. Who else got something? I want to spare us from going around the circle, and so I just want to leave it, like I said, it's open. So if you got something going on or something you want to share, tell us what your organization's doing, and let us jump in there.
So I have something exciting to share. As y'all know, Sasha and I are both regional housing facilitators for the Creating Homes initiative out of the state Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services Department. And this past funding cycle, there was an initiative for CoC 3.0, which is focused on individuals who have a mental health or co-occurring disorder and are either coming out of incarceration or had previously been in the criminal justice system. And Region 2, which includes the 12 counties for Tennessee Valley, we were funded on 3 of the projects. We applied for 3. We were funded for all 3. And the total funding amount for all 3 of those projects was just over $1,200,000. And I'm bringing this up because one of those projects, 2 were in Knox County, but 1 was in Jefferson County. And all of these projects are to create permanent supportive housing, and they also include ongoing support services. And so through the 4th Judicial Drug Court in Jefferson County, they have a permanent support. They want to resurrect a building that they were using for permanent supportive housing for women coming through the drug court who have been part of the criminal justice system, and they were awarded their funding. So they will have 10 units of permanent supportive housing. And so these are really great funding opportunities. The next round will probably be sometime next fall, and that will, this last year we had 3 different rounds. One was the Creating Affordable Housing Grant, which is basically just bricks and mortar. And then we had one for CoC 2.0, which is Sasha's focus, which is recovery housing. And then the CoC 3.0, which is those who have been touched by the criminal justice system. So just to keep putting that out there. And Sasha, if you have anything to add, please do. But we are very excited for Region 2 to have this funding coming in and to be able to support. I think we created 56 units.
Wow,
so that's 56
awesome.
units of permanent supportive housing for Region 2 that were just created with this funding.
And so there's 10 in Jefferson County, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep, there'll be 10 beds in what's called the cabin in the through the 4th Judicial Drug Court.
And then just to chime in also, Steps House here in Knoxville was also funded to build 10 new units as well. And CCC Management was funded to build 36 units. So yeah, altogether it'll be 56 here in the region. And then also just to kind of cover statewide, because there was 10 other proposals across the state that were also funded. So between all of those, there's a total of 227 new like housing units that are going to be built across the state, and over 3.6 million in total has been awarded across the state. So it's definitely a good initiative to get more recovery housing built here in the area.
That's awesome. So the facility, Sasha, in Knoxville, so if somebody comes out of jail in Cott County and reaches out, can we send them to you? Is there only 4 Knox County inmates that are coming out?
The way I've understood it, just having worked with like Steps House, for example, in the past, they accept referrals from other, counties as well. So, they've got their own list of criteria as far as who they accept. So there'll be a screening process. But I would just definitely suggest reaching out to, whichever recovery residents, the folks are looking at going to, because they can have a more in-depth conversation about, who they accept and who they don't.
Right. And Allie, I'm assuming since that was through the Jefferson County Drug Court, they're focusing on Jefferson Countyans.
Yeah, they're focusing on the women who are coming through that, but I don't, like Sasha's saying, like, it doesn't have to be that they're coming through. They may be referred to that program, right? But so they have 10 units, right? 10 beds. And let's say 8 of them are filled through people coming out of that drug court, and there's 2 empty spaces. Like, clearly they're going to try to fill them with appropriate residents. And, that goes for all of the CHI. All of the CHI funding is specifically for individuals who have a mental health diagnosis. And then from there, it expands out to like co-occurring, recovery, criminal justice. And so the idea is like those beds are earmarked for those individuals. But if you have permanent supportive housing and there's a bed that's sitting empty, like, we don't want it sitting empty, right? We want it to be filled. So that's how the state looks at it.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. Man, that's great. Lots of good things going on, man. Y'all are doing great work. I'm just blown away. What else? Anybody got anything else?
Also, I forgot to mention that there is a new initiative amongst the VA that just rolled out last week, to house 38,000 veterans by the end of the year. And so that includes, really an increase from what we were housing last year. And so we're just in the beginning stages of planning and trying to strategize. But I just wanted to mention that, and I'd love to partner with all of you. If maybe we can have like some kind of strategizing meeting on that. And then separately from that, I forgot to mention too about the challenge survey from last year. We did receive those results back, and I analyzed that data, and I do have a presentation that I can do. And part of challenge is not just doing the survey, but it's also working with the community and working within our programs to talk about those unmet needs, because essentially the survey is defining what needs are unmet for veterans. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get the information out to everyone the best way. And I thought about just having a separate meeting and just inviting anyone who's willing to come, and I can share those results. So just, you may hear more from me about that, but I just thought I'd mention those things. Thank you.
Well, I mean, if you want to do the May meeting and just do that presentation and let that be our discussion for May, that'd be fine with me. I mean, anybody else have a problem with that? I mean, if you don't appreciate our veterans, then don't come, right? And we'll take notes on who's not here.
Yeah, I can definitely point out, because the presentation is about 10 minutes long or so. I can always skip through some of the things and make it a brief presentation. But I do think it's good information to have. And as we're applying for funding and looking for that, it helps us determine, what those needs are, and maybe we can fill those gaps together. So I think it's good information.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just plan on that, Tiffany, for May. Savannah, if you might mind.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Keep as much time as you need to do that. 2nd? May, whatever that meeting is in May. All right. Aaron, what's that balloon behind your head?
I just turned 33 yesterday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thanks, I appreciate
Birthday.
it. Thank you, thank you.
33, I remember that just like it was 20 or 30 years ago or something like that. All right. One day you'll get old, Aaron. All right. Anybody got anything else? Okay. Well, let's we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you do have anything that that comes up and you want us to know as a COC, please feel free to email it to me or Savannah or even Emily here at TVCH, and we can get that out to everybody. But again, I just really like for us to grow as a cohesive team. Again, I understand we all have our own programs and own things we're doing, but as a COC, we're also supposed to be working together. And so I really hope to foster that from here, from the rest of this year, and really make us a cohesive unit doing things together as well to help fight homelessness. So, but appreciate everybody, and we will see you next month, if not before. Thanks. Bye-bye.